Jordan. The NFL is way bigger now than it was in Michael Jordan's era. The most beloved Olympic team ever is the Dream Team. That was Michael. It was new and fresh. Every game is on television now. Michael games felt bigger. I mean, Michael Jordan's brand last year made $4.7 billion. Michael Jordan's brand like 7 times bigger than LeBron. And there's nothing LeBron can do about that. He could have stayed totally out of politics. It doesn't matter. It is a different time. It's just a completely different time. Michael, it just felt bigger. You didn't have Instagram. You didn't have Twitter. When you saw him, it was rare. I can remember Michael Jordan. I worked in Portland. Oh, Michael Jordan's coming to town. You knew it 2 weeks out. We're going to get that interview. Like, you see LeBron all the time. What he's having for lunch, what he's having for dinner, Taco Tuesday at the house. It's just a different world. And I also think it's harder to compare the two because, I mean, LeBron's just playing so long now. Like athletes now, they play longer. As long as you take care of your body, the food's better, the training's better, the nutrition's better, the travel's easier, the practices are rarer. LeBron's going to play for another 5 years. The second thing is the 80s NBA and today's NBA feel so different. It's much more European. The Europeans are better now. There's more three-point shooting. You can't tackle players as much as you did in the 80s. Now, I will say this. Michael would score more points today if he played. He'd probably average 37 points a game because you can't hand check people. You'd never keep Michael in front of you. People didn't have much success doing it then. You'd never do it now. Michael would score more now. Michael also would not be nearly as dominant defensively, although he would be great because he's so long and athletic and twitchy, but you can't keep Ja Morant in front of you. Forget it. Nobody can. Give me a break. You can't touch anybody. It's hard to keep Chris Paul in front of you, and he's like 40. The second thing is LeBron would be dominant in back in Michael's era. Folks, Karl Malone averaged 28 a game. Karl Malone was a multiple-time MVP. He's not in LeBron's athletic galaxy. He's not even close to LeBron. It's not as big, as strong, as fast, the ball handling, the passing. And Karl Malone was dominant. I covered him. He was dominant. They would both be great. And it's interesting, whenever you get into this who's great and who's greater, let me ask you this. A minute 30 to go. Brady or Aaron Rodgers, who would you take? It's not even close. Every single one of you that doesn't live in Wisconsin said Brady. That's always been who's better. The one thing Michael has, and it's indisputable, a minute 30 left. Because if Michael's teams face LeBron's best teams, his team struggled at times with the Phoenix Suns that were never a dynasty, and the Sonics and the Utah Jazz a couple times. Those teams didn't even win titles. You take LeBron's best team in Miami, games would be close with Chicago. LeBron's best team in Cleveland, it'd be close. The NBA Finals, they're always close. The games are very few sweeps. So in those close games with a minute 30 left, who would you take? And I always thought Michael Jordan's best argument is, I take Michael. He's a better free throw shooter, a better on-ball defender, and a better mid-range player. I'd take Michael. Now, stats, volume, ball handling, passing, I don't want either passing. Late, minute 30 left, overtime, fourth quarter, I take Michael. Those games are all close. Michael's games are all close. Michael was better at the line. He was a better on-ball defender. And he was the best mid-range player ever. So when people get into this who's better, I don't know that you can't compare these two. But I will say that's always been Brady's great advantage over a lot of his contemporaries. Big Ben, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning. I'll take Brady late. When you have all these great people, the best people in any industry are at their best in crisis. It was always the difference between Jeter and A-Rod. They're both great. A-Rod's more talented. Who would you take 2-on, 2-out, ninth inning in a playoff game? You take Jeter. So therefore, to me, Jeter's greater. Because they're both great. They both get to the playoffs. They're both fantastic. They're both Hall of Fame talents. So it always comes down to Michael, LeBron, Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Jeter, and A-Rod. You compete. Who's better in crisis? Because most of these world championships in all these sports, it comes down to game 6. So get drunk on it. And, it's one of those things. And, mysterious. I've said this before. I have nothing in common with Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't get along with his parents, or as far as I can tell, his brother. Never married, no kids, doesn't have a pet. I take incredible pride on being self-reliant. I couldn't tell you the last meeting I had. I've been here 6 years. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw my bosses. He's arguing with his every offseason. So I can't get into his head. I don't, generally, if you tell people you love them, you don't bail on them 10 minutes later. Well, what do I know? Now, I will say this, I doubt the Packers know what he's doing yet. I think they have a press conference tomorrow, but that's pre-combine. They do that annually. And I think Aaron would like to control the announcement. It's hard to keep a secret with Aaron Rodgers, especially in Green Bay. Also, he's on the Sirius XM every week or most weeks with Pat McAfee, and today he's on, so he likes to drum up business on that. My hunch has always been he would return to Green Bay for a lot of reasons. He's got power there. There is no owner. He's got a young offensive coach. The division is absolutely awful. Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones. He's got star players around him. Brady's now retired, so we think. So the NFC is just wide open. Plus, this isn't discussed a lot. In one more season, he's a free agent. He can move like Brady did. Right now, he could not. So my hunch has always been he'd be back. And plus, when you read the Instagram post, it's too long to put on the air. He likes a lot of stuff about Green Bay. He likes his left tackle, David Bakhtiari, the coach, the players. There's a lot to like about Green Bay. You can hide, a little bit in Green Bay. You don't have the press over you all the time. He's got a bunch of pictures, and everybody's trying to figure out what the pictures mean. And what I find really entertaining about this whole thing, it is very much reminiscent of Brett Favre. A lot of drama toward the end. The difference is Aaron Rodgers was the backup to Favre, and everybody knew he could play. Jordan Love is the backup to Aaron Rodgers, and nobody thinks he can. So there's really some pressure on Green Bay to get this puppy right. When Brett walked out the door, everybody in the building knew Aaron's really good. Right now, nobody in Green Bay is saying that about Jordan Love, from as far as I can tell. But I was thinking about this as I drove in this morning. There's this weird syndrome. I don't know if you've read about it. They call it the Havana syndrome, where we've sent government officials to, other countries. And in Havana, there was a hotel, and our government officials came back and they were sick multiple times. And nobody can figure out the illness. It's a mystery illness. And they've called it the Havana syndrome. It's all over. You can go search it, Google it. I always call this, Favre and Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay quarterback syndrome. It's the same without the sickness part. Is that there's a reason Favre from the South, good old boy, and Aaron Rodgers, no-cal hipster, connected to Hollywood, have become the same guy. It's the Green Bay quarterback syndrome. Because you have no owner, and because you don't get free agents, they're not interested in being there, you're not only the franchise quarterback, you're the franchise, beginning, middle, and end. And Green Bay is unique. The trophy for the Super Bowl is named after your former coach. The town is called Title Town. And you win the division every year because the Bears, Lions are almost always dysfunctional, and the Vikings are good but never a Super Bowl winner. And so it's a really weird dynamic where you don't have an owner, Jerry Jones, and in 2022, the world's changed. You need owners. I mean, Stan Kroenke is the reason that Matt Stafford, OBJ, and Von Miller are Rams. They gave up picks. They called Stan Kroenke. He got it done. Like, owners matter. To get on the phone, let's make a move. Green Bay doesn't have one, so they're a little bit of an outdated model. They're the post office, as I've joked before. They don't get free agents. Well, the Super Bowl champ went out and spent money on free agents or gave away draft picks. And so you have the expectations to win. It's Title Town, the Lombardi Trophy. You win your division, you're MVP. But you're really not built to win in today's pro sports environment where mobility, free agents, and owner can be huge, forget benefits, huge advantages. Stan Kroenke's the reason Matt Stafford's here. That would be hard to pull off without an owner. You'd have to have multiple meetings. You'd have to go to the board in Green Bay. By that time, he's off to somebody else. And so I think it's a very unique situation. And at the end of regular seasons, Favre and Aaron Rodgers once again can win MVPs and dominate the division, have the passer rating, and no title. One for both. And so I think it creates the Green Bay Packer quarterback syndrome. They're not really built to win Super Bowls in 2022 and beyond. They're not. You need an owner. You need free agents. The margins are slim. Von Miller ended up being massively important. You can argue they do not win some of those playoff games without Von Miller. OBJ was huge in the first half in the Super Bowl. Big against Tampa. And so I have no idea what Aaron's going to do. My hunch has always been that he will stay. He wants to feel loved. There was a lot of hearts, very hallmarky card. He wants to be loved, and I think he is, despite his drama, loved in Green Bay. All right, so, the first few days, NFL season's over, right? College basketball, March Madness, a few weeks away. This has always been sort of a dead zone in our business. NFL free agency starts, in earnest in a couple of weeks. March has always been an underrated month for us. March Madness, NFL free agency, quarterbacks moving. I love March. I think March is a great month for sports. February after the Super Bowl. That's why the Super Bowl is a week later is actually good for us. It's instead of 3 to 4 weeks of Death Valley, it's like 2 to 3 weeks. And this week is particularly hard because the NBA All-Star Game takes place. So they stop playing NBA games on Thursday, and they don't play on Monday, Tuesday. So you sit there kind of in the dead zone. So I thought it was kind of funny when LeBron and MJ hugged during the All-Star Game. I'm like, oh, good. That's like 3 days of content right there. I can do more Michael and LeBron debate stuff.